Recording in progress.
Well, welcome to the January 6, 2025, actually, is the correct year for the agenda. This is the Yarmouth Board of Health, and our mission is to make Yarmouth a healthier place. So let's get started for this year. Let's start with attendance, as usual. And Eric, are you present?
Present.
Mary? Present. Larry?
Present.
Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Hillard, I'm here, so that's pretty good. We have a quorum on that. Public comment, which is standard procedure here. If there's anyone who'd like to come forward, call in. Now's the time.
There is someone, I don't know if they're raising their hand or not, but there's someone on the board.
Well, welcome to speak up, turn something on, come to the mic. People could be calling in or watching on Zoom. Okay. D Coffee, I see, is the name.
You're muted if you're trying to get into the board right now.
Are they just attending and not want to speak, or?
Yeah, looks like.
Just one quick question. When are we going to get rid of this bullshit? So,
Okay, I don't see them raising their hand.
Okay. Well, as you can see, it's a pretty thin envelope for us here, and the first item is number 2, and that's the green burial draft approval. That's what's listed there. Everyone had, I guess, the latest draft in their packet, and hopefully spend some time on it to start working on it and see if we can finish this thing up. If anyone has any general comments, we could do that, or we could just start on the top, page 1, and work our way down paragraph by paragraph. Does anyone have any preference how to go about it?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, while the board is going to be doing their final edits, and if it's this meeting or the next, whenever that is done, I'd like to just lay out a scenario where then that would, your final edits would then go to town council. Town council will review that, because they say, just so you're aware, so there's a cadence to that. Then the public hearing, right? Then there's a waiting period, an appeal process. And in that interim, once you've finished and at council, we'll then put the application together, with the fee with the town selectmen. Those things will happen, but right now, we're waiting for your edits, then town council, then a hearing, then approval with, a waiting period, and then it would be enacted, okay?
Okay. So,
Let's go page by page.
Yeah.
okay, first paragraph, anyone, right underneath green home burial regulations. Anyone comments, things they want to change, add, delete, whatever?
Well, I guess we are going to be deleting that last sentence below as a draft for local health regulation.
Where are we?
Up on top, you mean the word draft?
Yeah, the first
Fine.
paragraph, underneath
Great.
green home burial.
That,
Yeah,
that would be removed.
yeah, okay. Then the second, I would just reverse the two.
Mary, could you put your microphone down a little bit?
Certainly.
Thank you.
I would reverse the 2 paragraphs under section 1. I'd start with green burials are allowed in Massachusetts and add to the last sentence where it says local regulation, I would add, and must be met and approved by the regional DEP office for each burial request. Because I did very carefully look at the,
Say that again. Now, are you working on what is presently the second paragraph, or what will be the first
well,
paragraph? if people
it's
agree?
all up to you, but I would, yes, the second paragraph is what I'm working on, which I would make the first paragraph. But the second paragraph, I would add to
Right.
that last sentence, and must be met and approved by the regional DEP office for each burial request. I did look very carefully at the
Okay.
handouts, and that's in there, and we don't have that in.
Okay, well, that sounds crucial.
So are you referring to the last sentence, Mary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Added on to this local regulation is where we're adding that on to?
We're adding it on to the last sentence under
Yes.
this second paragraph.
Okay.
Right.
Did you want to word it again, Mary?
Yeah, so how would that work, the whole sentence?
The whole sentence, the first part is there. DEP regulations and requirements are separate and in addition to this local regulation. Then I would add, and must be met and approved by the regional DEP office for each burial request.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. I mean, I don't think that was clear. that-
No, I had a note too, is
Okay.
that must be, that the
Okay.
DEP regulations and requirements must be
Okay.
followed, so I think that's fine.
Then I have just a,
Just one second, Mary. How do people feel about switching the paragraph order there? In other words, should that second paragraph be first, and then underneath it'll say section 1? Where will section 1, that term go? Just want to get it right. I mean, just that Jay's making notes, so what would the first paragraph look like? Is there something that goes before green burials?
no, it would just start with green burials are allowed in Massachusetts, blah, 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 blah. And then it would say, the purpose of this regulation is to establish local standards for green burial practices. So you start with the wider one, the state, and that we have to approve, and DEP. And then I would say, the purpose of this regulation is to establish local standards for green burial practices. To me, that just was more a logical
Okay.
progression of what this was all about. But
Jay,
I don't care, really.
you have a question on that?
I'm going to flip the order, and we're going to add to
Sentence.
that sentence.
Or that
If the
onto
board-
that sentence.
If the board agrees, right?
The only thing I had concerns about is, shouldn't we specify initially that before this process even begins, the applicant needs to go to the DPW, is it the DEP, right? To get approval before we even begin this process?
We
Don't
have,
need that approval before we start?
we have
I
not
think
said
that's the
that,
issue.
no. We've not said that.
But isn't that the issue we ran into just recently with this application?
The cadence, right.
And then it kind of set us back till we got it approved.
Well, then we would have to say must be first met and approved, or not met, but reviewed, and I said met, but I meant reviewed and approved by the regional DEP office for each burial request. So if we
Yeah.
just had first, then that would cover
But
that.
the applicant needs to complete that hurdle before he even comes to the, or she
Right.
comes to the board.
Right, but we're not addressing the steps of it here
Okay.
necessarily. They're further on down, into
Okay,
the,
just so we make that clear to,
right.
'cause it might be ambiguous to applicants in the future.
Okay, then I just say, and first, must be reviewed by the regional DEP office for each burial request. Just add and first.
Okay.
And I think that would cover it initially.
Okay.
Then the other thing, just to keep the same,
I'm not yet, I'm just still, I did a comment there. On under section 1, which is currently that first paragraph, even though we've switched it, in the second sentence, it says, green burial practices on private property. Does it have, can a commercial property be private, or does private say it's residential? Do we need the word residential? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, someone owns commercial property.
Personal instead of private.
I don't know the right term, but I think something may need to go there. Maybe not.
I mean, it has to have a house on it? A residence?
No.
Could it be like a business location?
I think we're trying to, my idea is not to have it, make sure it's not a commercial
Right, right.
space.
I see, well, then,
I don't know.
Practice on private.
well, private could be
Residential.
commercial.
So pri-
Right.
I would
so
assume it
private
could.
Residential property?
I'm sorry?
So you're looking to add private residential property?
At least residential is doesn't mean, that was just my thought, doesn't mean it's correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, fine,
Right.
let's just add it in. I had a little arrow right there for residential to fit in, fine. The other question I had here is green burials, are we going to capitalize it or not? Because it changes depending upon where we are in this. Do we want capital G and capital B consistently correctly, or is it something that doesn't need capitalized?
It doesn't need capitalizing.
Okay, so,
But on this title, it does, because it's a title, but
right.
Yeah,
but
elsewhere.
Yeah, you'll see through different areas, sometimes it's capitalized, sometimes it's not. Yeah, I don't think it
No.
deserves it either. So it'll be small g, small, lowercase g and b, unless, obviously, it's starting a sentence.
Okay. Just quick one, it says, I think we might address, when you say resident, green home burials, home.
right.
So home, like a commercial property, wouldn't be where you live. It's not bad to restate it again, but, I don't think, I think it delineates, and in all the literature, it's talking about information on home and home burials and not on a commercial property.
Right.
But we can say it again, but I do think it's spelled out pretty clearly that these are green home burials.
And I would take out that slash after green and just have green home burials.
Okay, now where,
This is the last sentence under the purpose and scope. This regulation applies to green home burials, but there's a slash between green and home, and I wouldn't put that in there. I'd just say green home.
green home, yep.
Okay.
I think that's when we hadn't changed the name yet. I think
Yeah.
Eric had said, yep.
Okay.
I had just a small thing, looking for input, but section 1, purpose and scope. The purpose of this regulation is to establish local standards for green burial practices on private property to protect public health, yada, yada, yada. I didn't know if we wanted to add a comma after on private property. I don't know if anyone really cares, but for some reason I thought there should have been a comma there.
I don't think there needs to
Not
be.
necessary, okay.
Anybody?
The
Yes,
purpose
no?
of this regulation
We're not voting on every
is
single
green
thing here.
burial practices on private property to protect public health. It seemed like a secondary statement to me, but it doesn't matter.
That sentence is now going to include the word residential private property.
Private residential property to protect.
Private
Right.
residential property.
But
Protect
it's,
public health.
but it's, well, that's right.
Protect-
So the purpose of it is to provide green, excuse me. The purpose of this regulation is to, I'm going to read it as it's printed right now.
Yeah,
Okay?
okay.
The purpose of this regulation is to establish local standards for green burial practices on private residential property to protect public health, preserve the environment, and ensure the ethical and respectful handling of human remains.
That sounds okay.
Okay,
Yep.
versus the purpose of this regulation is to establish local standards for green burial practices on private residential property, pause, to protect public health, pause, preserve the environment, pause. It just seemed like it warranted a pause, but I'm not an English teacher.
No, I don't think it does.
Okay.
Okay,
Fair enough.
We'll leave it then, as is. Are we done with section 1?
Yes.
All right, we are. Okay, section 2, let's go.
Can I just say, I added, one of the edits from the last time was that last sentence. And does that encapsulate everything when it says regulations do not apply to cremation? That's the last sentence.
Yes,
And was that enough?
Yes, I think,
yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, definitions?
Section 2, just to keep the format the same, additional items, cross off the no and just say additional items that are not allowed to be buried with or on the body. So that same syntax as the rest of this section is.
No additional items.
Where are you?
Under additional items, section 2,
Yes,
cross off the no.
okay.
Additional items that are not allowed to be buried with or on the body, parentheses, jewelry or personal items, just to keep the syntax the same as the other definitions, that's all.
yeah.
No, right, that
So
are not. Just start with additional items that are not allowed to be buried with or on the body, jewelry or personal items. That's to keep it the same way you have stated the
Formatting
other
of- yeah.
definitions. Grammatically.
Bless you.
Yeah, but then you're stating jewelry or personal items as the items that are not allowed to be buried, and you're leaving it
Right.
but you're leaving it open to
what?
what other things are allowed to be.
Well, do you want to list every single thing?
No, but the way that it's currently written, no additional items are allowed to be buried with or on the body.
No, because
Covers.
this is a definition, though. This is a definition. Human remains, the body of a deceased person. Shroud, a length of cloth. National burial site, a designated area. Casket, additional items.
Can't you just say?
Items that are not allowed to be buried with or on the body, including jewelry or personal items.
Could I just?
That's an explanation. That's not really saying what additional items are, right? Those are two different
Well, it says
ways.
personal item, jewelry or personal items. A personal item can be a teddy bear, it can be a picture,
so
it can
the-
be anything.
Could I ask, does additional items belong in definitions? Should it be somewhere else in the body of this?
No, I think it's fine.
Well, I'm just suggesting that we say additional items are not allowed to be buried with or on the body,
Because this isn't,
rather than saying additional items that are not allowed to, because then you're making a statement
okay.
of
Okay,
what's
I
not.
got you. Okay, you're right.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
agree with Eric, but I
Additional
would,
items are not allowed to be buried with or on the body.
Additional items.
And I'd say including jewelry or
Yes.
personal.
yes, I would say that.
Including.
I can tell you right now, one issue you're gonna have to deal with is jewelry.
Yes,
That people have rings on that don't come off. So it's gonna be out there. It's gonna be something we'll have to address at
that's a
some point.
variance, that's a variance.
Yeah, so,
So how
exactly, I'm just,
I
how does that, how does that,
I don't think it's changing what we're doing right now,
don't
but
change anything there.
so additional items, how does that read?
It reads, additional items are not allowed to be buried with or on the body, including jewelry or personal items.
Okay.
And I have one other add-on, or discussion item. In the state material, it talks about a gravel liner, and we don't say anything about it.
yeah. I wrote down that
Do we need to put that in there somewhere?
as a definition, and then it'll be up on top. I have it under green burial, the first under definitions, adding a grave liner. I went to a funeral recently, and basically, there's, the hole is there, and there was sort of a dark tarp-like cloth of something that was put into the hole, and the casket was then dropped in there. So that's considered a grave liner.
A membrane of some sort, yeah.
Not, you know, we don't want something that's synthetic there, not biodegradable. So that's the reason I had added to the first one, the green burial grave liner, as something else.
Right, or vaults or grave liner. Caskets, comma, vaults or grave liners,
Right,
right?
correct,
Are not allowed.
correct.
Grave liners, right.
So where are we?
And the other thing on green burial, same place, the first item under section 2 definitions, green burial, and we use the word avoids there. Should that be prohibits?
Which were you?
In other words, a burial method that avoids the use of embalming fluids. Is that the right word, or should it be prohibits?
No, I think it's avoids.
Avoid,
Yeah.
I
okay?
think that comes from the states.
State, yep.
Right.
Does.
Yep.
Somebody's lifted off the state. I don't,
Okay.
I don't, Hilk, if you could just point me to where you're putting the liner. I missed that. Where did you put the liner? Comment?
It would be like before casket or after caskets, where it says caskets or vaults, comma, allowing the body. So it's just putting it in the line of those.
So take out the or after caskets.
So caskets, comma, grave liners,
Or grave-
comma,
or
or
grave
vaults, or,
Yeah.
I only had one other, Jay, you have that?
Got it.
Okay, just.
Thank you.
Tell us to slow up if we need to. Okay, the last item on page 1, burial lot. Here it says defined area where body will be placed. Should it be a single body? In other words, to be defined, you can only have one person there, or not?
Where one body will be placed.
Yeah, to define that, there's really only one person per lot,
We
essentially.
do mention that.
So that's just, we're only at definitions,
Yeah,
but,
no, I know.
I mean, distance is something, you know, the number of things what a burial lot has to be,
Yeah, under section 5, number 7,
okay?
it says the burial plot will consist of a 10 by 12 area and will be deemed an area of non-disturbance.
Uh-huh.
So I suppose that's maybe a different,
We should say burial plot then
Definition.
under definitions. Defined where the body will be placed and the undisturbed area around it. That would be the burial plot,
Defined area with bypass.
right? I mean, let's be consistent.
Okay, are we working on number 7 or burial lot? I'm not sure where we're working right now.
I'm sorry, I just brought that up because,
That's where,
think
that's where
it's-
we talk about it again.
well,
Yeah.
it's, I don't know if it's referring to the same thing, if the lot is referring to the area of non-disturbance, excuse me, the plot is listed as a 10 by 12 area, but on page 1 under definitions, we don't say burial plot, we say burial
Right.
lot.
Right.
Defined area where body will be placed.
And we say burial plot again in number 3 under section 5. But we
Yeah.
don't say burial lot anywhere. I didn't see it anywhere else. So like Eric said, I think we need to be consistent. So I'd say burial plot,
Yeah, Eric, good point.
Lot.
plot.
And we're gonna,
Defined area where body will be placed and the undisturbed area around it.
So we'd include the area of non-disturbance.
Eric, I have a question.
Sure.
Don't cemeteries traditionally put bodies in spaces, like a family might have a family plot? In a 10 by 12 plot, they could certainly have more than one
Right.
casket buried there.
And the state regulations do address that too, and I'm trying to figure out where, but they do say there can be more than one.
In the 10 by 12 area?
No, that's not a green burial.
That was our area.
Right,
You're
yeah.
referring
That's what
to
we said.
cemetery,
Yeah.
not a green burial.
We
So that's
set that
different.
area. That was our.
Right, and this is, right,
Yeah,
and
so
it's not,
that's
this is not a
sealed.
cemetery
You
either.
know, each casket is sealed and the
yeah,
Okay,
body's
Not a green burial.
embalmed and so forth. So you could put more than
Number,
in a plot, in a cemetery,
State
but
says number of burials per
specifically
burial
not in a
plot.
green
okay, we
burial.
got too many people speaking at the time.
That would defeat the issue of a green burial.
Mr. McCurdy, this is being handled a little differently. Really, this is a sort of, we're essentially finishing up this document, all right? So it's really not incorporating the public at this point. And at some point, I'll certainly allow you to speak, for sure. You could have during public comment, but at some point, but not, I don't think you should be part of the group right now. In other words, you're not on the agenda as a speaker and so on. It's just not how this is formatted in general at our meetings. You've been very patient, incredibly patient. You see that we've taken things very seriously. We're very detail-oriented. We don't like to be wrong. So I think I need you to kind of sit where the public is sitting, and I'll have you come up a little bit later, and you can say anything you'd like, ask any questions you want. But I think it's going to be interrupting what we're trying to do, okay?
Okay.
So don't go anywhere, but have a seat over there, and it's just it's formality, okay? Thank you.
So the state does address it. It says number of burials per burial plot. The guidance should define the minimum and maximum number of individual burials that will be allowed in the burial plot. A more detailed hydrogeological study and a long-term monitoring plan should be considered for sites which are proposed to accept a large number of green burials. So we can say one, or, you know, I know one of the questions we had asked earlier on was there any indication that other family members may want to be buried on the property?
That's a separate issue, isn't it, Mary? Than a
No, we have to,
individual lot?
we have to define it. We have to say it. This is us to decide. The site is saying that we should define it.
Right, I think, we determine what a plot is, okay? I assumed, or my idea was a single
Right.
body. It doesn't, if we want to make it a different number, we can. Someone has a very large piece of property, they can have a lot of 10 by 12s,
But we're talking about one 10 by 12.
Yes.
Right, right,
Right.
right.
Yeah,
That's different than a cemetery, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
so in the mass.gov handout on the first, second, third, I believe it's the fourth page. There's setback, there's a little table, setback distance recommendations for green burial sites from private wells. I'm just referencing that because it lists type of facility. Is everyone following along?
Right,
So it says one grave.
Yes.
And then it says family burial plot.
Yes.
So, going back to our draft regulation, what we have listed as a burial lot says defined area where body will be placed. That sounds more like a grave than the burial plot. So I don't know if that should be clarified or.
Yeah, because it says number of burials per burial plot. So, right, I think we should call it, the grave,
So, yeah, I mean, maybe a grave is,
the grave.
I don't know where that definition came from, Jay. The burial lot, was that a mass.gov, or was that a definition that we?
This has been a culmination of a number of
Sure.
different. So
Yeah, no,
I
that's
can't
the-
say where exactly I lifted
Yep,
that.
yep.
But one of the things I do, if we're trying to get down to how many in number 6, and I know we're jumping around, but we may speak to it. On number 6, when we say the requirements, only burials for immediate family members are allowed on the property, and each burial requires a separate review and approval. So that immediately then says there will be no family plots.
Yeah, I just want to be consistent with it, whether it's a lot or a plot and what we're defining as a lot or plot versus grave, that's all. I just want to make sure we're being
Did you
really.
just say that means that there won't be a family?
Well, the board would, you have the complete.
Right,
You have
right.
the authority to, you're going to look at each one,
Right, yeah,
one at a time.
right.
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 So,
So we're not talking about family
Exactly. So family is not a,
burial plots.
it could be if the board said, we're going to allow this. But
Right. So then, like Eric said, that first burial plot, we should probably say grave.
in section 5, number 7, it specifically states a burial plot will consist of 10 by 12 area and will deemed an area of non-disturbance.
Right.
So how can you have more than one body in there unless they die simultaneously?
You can't.
You can't.
Can't.
No.
So that,
We're talking about one grave,
right.
everything's what?
But
So
I was
instead of,
just, yeah, okay.
So the 10 by 12 area includes
the grave.
however much space the actual grave site takes up, plus any non-disturbance around it.
Well, you talked about that. So
Total of 10 feet by 12.
4 by 8 is the, remember, there was a discussion on that. There was a 4 by 8 is the traditional
Right.
size, and then we said, well, okay, the area of non-disturbance, let's go out. The board said 10 by 12. That makes sense.
Okay, so burial plot is probably okay.
Okay. I'm not sure I know what the answer is yet. So under section 2, the last item here,
We just want to add that it, under burial plot, not lot,
with the P,
plot, defined area where body will be placed and the undisturbed
Including
area.
the area of non-disturbance.
Right,
or
including
some-
the
something
area of
like that.
non-disturbance, that's good, including.
where a body,
Where the body. or a
the,
body,
okay, I'm just trying to singularize it in some way.
Where a body.
Okay.
Yeah, good,
Placed,
including
including
the
the area
undisturbed area.
of non-disturbance. Okay.
You okay? Okay, so there'll be one more item there, under definitions, and that would be, what a grave liner is. And I had scribbled in,
Well, we did not define vault or we defined casket but not vault. So we're gonna have to define vault also.
But is that even an issue? A vault? I mean, we're not,
No,
You're not gonna
no,
involve-
we're saying that there can't be such a thing. I don't think we need to define grave liner. If we do, we have to define vault also, because we're listing that.
Okay, I disagree only that I didn't know what a grave liner was until I thought of it at this particular funeral I was at, that even existed. My feeling is most people would know what a vault is, and, you know, certainly in a cemetery, but,
Do you have a definition of it? Do you have a definition?
for grave liner, I had it pulled from someplace, an unsealed durable outer material in which the casket is placed at time of burial in the earth. That was the definition
Unsealable?
unsealed, ED, so it's UNSEALED,
Durable?
outer material, which is, it's vague to me, but I saw it in two different documents using the same language, so somebody copied from somebody else, but in which the casket is placed at time of burial in the earth. How do people feel about it? It doesn't mean we need to put it in just because I'm suggesting it.
I'd go ahead and put it in place.
So I think it'd be good to include.
Right,
And we're putting it in as something that's not allowed.
right, it's the definition.
Correct.
Okay.
Someone could
Could have a
be,
biodegradable.
thank you, yes.
So I was going to say, it
Sure.
has to be decomposable.
Biodegradable, sure.
So can we go over exactly what we're stating here for the definition?
So, in AN is the word, unsealed, ED, unsealed, durable, outer, which is OUTER, material
Yep.
in which the casket is placed at time of burial in the earth.
Did you say in which the casket?
Casket is placed at the time of burial in the earth. We can change any of this. This is just what I scribbled down.
I wouldn't say durable, I would probably say biodegradable or decomposable.
No, because we're saying we don't want grave
If they're
liners.
saying they don't?
Yeah, this is a no-no. It's a grave liner, no. So this is why we're saying no. We said no vaults.
Do you want to put vault definition, Mary? I mean, how do people feel?
I would, frankly, I didn't know about vaults until I had to deal with them at a
Okay.
family thing.
Eric,
I
Larry, Charlie?
I feel like if we don't, I mean, there's no way we're gonna think of everything,
Okay.
but if it's not here,
Yes.
it's not allowed. I think,
We've already said it's not allowed, but we're talking now about defining it. What is a vault?
well, we could go on and on about defining things.
I know, but we're only trying to define the things that we've mentioned here. The vault is what, concrete? I don't care. You don't have to put it.
I
You
mean,
don't have to
there's
put-
nothing that can be raised at this site, anything, markers, nothing can be, right? Everything's flush to the ground.
This is now the marker?
In general, yes. In other words, obviously a vault would not, but you're saying you weren't, you wouldn't have
I
known.
thought a vault was the big concrete lining of the earthen grave.
Okay, because I've also seen it, something that's up.
Okay,
as
so then
well.
we need to define it,
Yeah, well,
because
yeah.
obviously we're both thinking
That
of different
wouldn't
things.
fit under biodegradable,
Right.
For sure.
Defining something that's not allowed. The vault is
not
typically, when we talk about,
biodegradable. It's probably
is
cement
is what
or
you're placing
stone.
the casket in.
Well, we're not even going to use a vault. We're saying you can't use one.
Right.
But now we're going to say for people like me that didn't have a clue what a vault was in terms of burial, you know, well, what is this?
A vault is, that would be a cement, typically a cement liner.
Always underground? Because I was in the impression that there was,
Underground.
you could see the top of this thing, no? Okay, then I have it wrong. Okay. So the decision we need to make, do put a definition or not?
Yes, we need a definition.
Okay. You able to pull it up on that or not?
Prefabricated container, usually of metal or concrete, into which a casket is placed at burial. This is from
That
online.
would be a vault.
Okay,
Right,
That's a vote.
right. That's what I'm trying to do, is get
Okay.
you a definition of vault.
okay, so,
So, a prefabricated container usually of metal or concrete into which a casket is placed at burial.
So, and that will become part of our
definitions,
glossary
yeah,
of-
I'm good with it,
our
thanks,
glossary
Mary.
of definitions. Okay.
Larry, you're okay with it?
All right.
Okay. Okay, why don't we say we do the next page, let's go. Up on top, what do people,
I just, under Zone 2, you don't have to say Zone 2 is, you just say a wellhead protection area, because you've already got Zone 2 there. And then, under setback, the last question under that definition, last sentence rather, DEP setback requirements to wells does not include irrigation wells, but to potable water wells only.
Where
That's
are you, Mary? Where are you reading from?
reading from page 2,
Yeah,
under the definition for setback.
setback, okay.
The last
Sure.
sentence says DEP setback requirements to wells does not include irrigation wells. And then I would change the wording to, but to potable water wells only. Because I think it's a little confusing just having potable water only.
I'm not sure everyone knows what that word means.
Drinkable, it means drinkable.
Audible is.
Yeah, well, I know that, but I'm not sure the public does
I hope they
necessarily.
do, because sometimes there's signs that say not potable.
Okay, I would go with drinking water, it's just my feeling.
Okay, well, I don't care.
Irrigation doesn't mean I'm,
I don't care.
Larry, Eric, speak up. Nobody's feelings are gonna be hurt here, we're just trying to get this moving
I think
along.
it stands it stands well. A
Potable?
setback
Okay,
seems
Okay.
fine. I
So
think it's self-explanatory.
And then I would add a definition,
Can I just ask, what did we do to that? Did we just leave it the way it is? Right, this is,
but to potable
But to pot- okay,
water
potable
wells
is it.
only.
okay.
I just had to add a period there.
yeah, I have that too, yeah. After only,
After only.
yeah, I have a period there too, okay.
Okay.
And the other thing I had was, once again, on setback, on the second line there, the word essentially, is that, that's a new sentence. We're starting the word essentially?
Yeah, it's after the parent.
Essentially.
So it'd be a comma and a small e.
Or a semicolon.
Something,
Yeah, something, yeah.
Okay.
A common, because there's no comma yet, so you can use a comma and then just make it a small e
good,
essentially.
okay,
Comma, small e.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah, that's,
all right.
I want to add a definition, particularly given that it's public health related, and this is from the state. Definition of a serious pathogenic disease. Serious pathogenic disease. Colon. Highly infectious bacterial and viral diseases and diseases caused by prions. Yep. highly infectious bacterial and viral diseases and diseases caused by prions, P-R-I-O-N-S.
Mary, did you grab this from the state?
State.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
wondering if it's already in here.
Yep.
Yeah, under number 5.
Because this is,
Yeah, I
ver-
made
we-
that
we've
up.
talked about this, and we know that this has been one of the,
Yep.
one of the objections. And so I think we need to be very specific about it. And then I think we would have to add, we need to add something related to that down at the bottom, under safety and health requirements, but I can wait until we're through the other sections for that.
Comments on that? Yeah, I think it's a good idea to put it in.
And this, and the reason I added it is because I did add under it, number 4, section 4, number 4, infectious disease control. Green burial of a person who was known to have been killed, I'll just read the whole thing first, by a serious pathogenic disease should not be allowed a green burial pending decision of the Yarmouth Board of Health. Again, that's from the state. Because it's pretty general what's there without, I think, that sentence added to it. That's pretty
Want
specific.
to read it again, Mary?
Green burial of a person who was known to have been killed by a serious pathogenic disease should not be allowed a green burial pending decision of the Yarmouth Board of Health.
So that gives us license to override that? Is that what you're saying there, by your statement?
To override what?
In other words, that ruling that you want to put in the, we're talking about section 2 still?
No, I'm talking about section 4,
Section 4.
number 4. We haven't said that you can't bury somebody with a communicable disease. We haven't said that.
Pathogenic disease, you said.
Haven't said that that can't happen.
But you're quoting a,
No, we're saying that it can't happen if it was a serious pathogenic disease, which is why I wanted to include it under definitions. What is a serious pathogenic disease, according to the state? So what I'm saying is, a serious pathogenic disease, that person cannot be allowed a green burial pending our decision. We could say yes or no.
right, that's what I said.
Yes, yeah.
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 I think we ought to leave it open like that
But
because,
we have to be the ones to determine that,
yeah.
because
A
that's
good
what the
example
state
would,
says.
somebody dying of COVID
Right,
would
no,
not be a threat to
No.
have a green burial.
No.
But that's a serious pathogenic disease.
Right.
so,
right,
Yeah. If it was anthrax, that would be another story.
right. Yeah.
So as long as we have that.
Yeah, no, it gives us some authority there, and it's helpful. I mean, because there are a lot of infections that people who are dying with or die from. So, Mary, good, thank you. We kind of jumped down to section 4. Let's go back up. Was there anything on section 3?
Under location, just to say consistent,
Okay,
green burial sites must be located on, it says private property. Do we want to add the word residential again?
Yes.
yep,
Private residential
pickup.
property?
Yep.
And under number 2, green burial sites must have well-drained soils to allow for natural decomposition and prevent contamination of nearby water sources. Groundwater testing should be conducted to ensure the site does not compromise water quality. Do we want to identify who should be conducting the groundwater
I
testing?
think that comes up someplace, because I know, someplace I put down, it has to be Massachusetts certified or something, so I think there is someplace else that it does. Doesn't mean we shouldn't put it in here as well. Wait till we get to and see whether that is enough. Now, Eric, should the groundwater testing must be or should be? Does it make any difference? Must be
say
would be, yeah, I think so, would be stronger. I would vote that way. It's not an option. It must be done.
Yeah.
So we're going to change that one word.
Yep.
Okay.
The only thing that we address is a certified soil evaluator. Is that the person that does or is that the geological evaluation done by somebody differently? I don't know.
The hydrogeological,
Right.
I think they're looking, hydrogeological is looking at the 100 and 500 flood.
Well, estimated seasonal high groundwater level.
Right, that's what they're for.
Soil profile description to a depth of 4 feet, soil variability, depth to bedrock. That's what the geological evaluation, according to the state.
Right, but this is talking about sampling of water, groundwater testing.
Just what I'm saying, does a certified soil evaluator do that? I don't know. He does.
Usually it's I would assume that they're, do all the survey and all that. Like, when I do septics, I hate to name, when they're digging, they do that soil evaluation right there, but they also evaluate wetlands close by, flood zones close by, and stuff like that. They take it into
Your mic's not on.
Can the homeowner, I mean, can they just call one person to provide all the services? I mean, that hopefully can be done. I mean, for a private person to pick up the tab on that, it could be a lot.
Yeah.
Could all the requirements be met by one person who does all this?
I'm not sure.
There, I'm not sure that certainly a hydrogeological study, a regular soil evaluator.
I ain't gonna know.
They're not doing that at all.
Yeah.
And then we also have
Thing.
the three professionals, the surveyor, we have a survey,
Right, yes.
Yes?
hydrogeological.
Yes.
And we also have.
Yes.
The
Certified
certified
soil
soil evaluator, who may or may not be able to do the water testing, and there may be another person. So there's a little bit of, there's some sunk costs here before they even get to an application.
So is it clear? I'm looking at you, Eric, I know, but it's about, there are three services that have to be provided by someone.
Yeah, I'm not clear on who tests the groundwater.
Where does the DEP come in?
Well, that was my thought, is the
They
groundwater.
cover all that?
Yes, they cover all that. Yeah. They say what the geological evaluation should be, and then they recommend a certified soil evaluator to ensure consistency in making site determination that the body is covered by at least 3 feet of soil. The bottom of the burial excavation should maintain at least 3 feet separation distance of naturally occurring soil above the ESHWT. Must be water table, right?
seasonal groundwater.
What is
groundwater.
testing,
Estimated seasonal groundwater.
So,
how does testing the groundwater ensure that the site is not compromising the water quality?
so if the DEP does all that,
No,
then
no, they
Why
don't
do-
do it. The person putting in the application has to have it done.
So
don't they require that? The DEP?
Yes.
So they would have to complete that before they even came to us. If we had if we required a DEP approval,
Right, that would have to have been done.
so we wouldn't have to deal with that.
Well, but we would in a way. I mean, I don't want somebody to come in and say, well, what do we have to have? And I'll say, well, I guess a certified soil evaluator and somebody to do I'd like to be able to say a geological evaluation that includes these things, and a certified soil evaluator to make sure that and this, like you said, this just seems to pertain to soil issues, not water.
Yeah, I'm not clear on
think
how a
the-
groundwater test would ensure that the site doesn't compromise the water quality. It seems like a soil test would be much more indicative.
When you're thinking of groundwater testing, you're thinking of the parameters of, like, for drinking water. Okay, what's the nitrogen, what's the arsenic?
Sure.
That, as opposed to the groundwater testing may, in fact, the levels. Where is this? That's the groundwater testing. I don't think they're doing,
Okay.
they're doing a profile of drinking water, nitrogen, arsenic, all the.
So, going back, that's my question, is who's testing the water? It's the hydrogeological survey.
That's the groundwater testing.
So, maybe it might just be good to mention that under soil and drainage. It says groundwater testing should be conducted to ensure the site does not compromise water quality. Because I just, when I read that, I was thinking, who's testing the water? It's not testing the water quality, it's a hydrogeological survey.
So then maybe we should not say groundwater testing, or maybe we should, but we should somehow say that this includes testing by, this includes a geological evaluation and certified soil evaluation.
I think we're getting in over our head here.
I am, yeah.
These things. I think we're just making this more difficult than we need to.
I think it's difficult.
I mean,
We're making it difficult.
It's already difficult.
I mean, that information is going to have to be in whatever the person, the applicant, gets a piece of paper, it's going to have to list all these things, what they need to get. And all those items will be on there, because I agree with
They
you,
have
in
to
here.
get by the DEP, and that's all covered by their regulations, is what I'm saying. So I don't know why we need to repeat that.
My gut feeling is you're right, it's just overloading how this is being written.
I just, that's my opinion.
I just don't want someone to read it and think, oh, I need somebody else to test my groundwater too. I'm just
I
trying to
agree with you, Eric.
clarify that.
Groundwater has no relevance here. It specifically says 4 feet from the water table.
Right.
And then the soil has to be able to be, it's permeable enough to filter out all these impurities before it gets to the groundwater. So that's all kind of covered in the regulations.
Sure.
So how did we get that sentence? Where did that sentence come from? Groundwater testing should be conducted to ensure.
Well, I think it's in reference to the hydrogeological study.
hydrogeological
So
study,
if,
right.
can we just be consistent with our addressing of that?
Just leave the first sentence?
Or refer to it as a hydrogeological study rather than
Right.
groundwater
Right.
testing? Is that?
Yeah.
So hydrogeological study.
Geological evaluation is what
hydro-
the state says.
hydro.
Geological evaluation.
I think 90% of this
Yeah,
is already covered
that's,
here.
that's better. At least then the person's looking at it, says, oh, okay, yeah, that's what the state says here, and that's what it means.
Jay, you have it?
Yeah, so to back up, kind of, the mechanics of this would be an application, and then there will be, like we do with septic, but there'll be a checklist of these are the things and the steps, and we're going to have to guide them through that. From your policy, that once it is approved, it will say, these are the steps, and we're not going to just say, here, fill this out, and so we'll guide them in that.
Right.
All right?
And so when we just say geological evaluation, that's enough. But in the process, we'll say, underneath the geological evaluation in the checklist or whatever, we'll say, should include these things.
Right.
Right, okay, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Anything else in section 3 there, on the second page we're working on?
Nope.
Anyone? Okay, section 4, what else has to be dealt with here?
Under
Anything?
number 3,
Okay,
the last sentence, the burial process should be done using environmentally friendly methods. What does that mean?
yeah, I have it underlined, circled with an exclamation mark next to it here. I have the same reaction.
Originally, what they were saying was, not even, when you were talking about green environmental, is that limiting machines and doing it in a friendly manner so that nothing is compromised in the process.
Does that mean using shovels and not machines?
So Mary, what that means is your backhoe can't be leaking oil.
Well, exactly right, as friendly as it
wind
can't be as construction.
turbines.
Yeah, making sure that it's done in a friendly manner. This is all, that was part of the process they talked about. And again, this is pulled from a whole host of information, not just here in Massachusetts, but across, be done in an environmentally friendly manner so that
How
there
about if we
isn't any
said safe,
contamination.
environmentally safe methods? We just change that friendly to
We're-
safe.
Yeah, no, please, I'm not
Sounds a
bothering
little
to-
bit more.
I'll second your motion. All right, the only thing that changed there is the word friendly then.
Right.
Okay,
Safe.
Yeah,
nice.
okay.
Now, we already looked at infectious disease control, right?
Right,
The only
yes.
question I had there, in addition to that, was, on the second, basically it says what, green burial practices should comply with any relevant infectious disease regulations. So you don't want the ones that are from New Jersey, you maybe put Massachusetts, or you don't want it from Brazil, or wherever, you know, it would be ours, that's all. I would put Massachusetts there.
So,
MA infectious disease regulation, pretty simple, yeah. So we don't lose in court. Okay, now, believe it or not, we're on the next page. Up on top, it's actually section 5, which is written down there. So we're on section 5, and it's 1 through 14 here. What just stood out here to me was number 3, certified soil evaluator. Let's look at what that, additionally, a certified soil evaluator.
So I had a question. First, the sequence,
Okay,
Right,
is that correct? Is that
Yeah.
the way we wanted to follow through on all this? Because my thought was initially we talked about having the applicant go through the DEP before we even got to all these. But yet I think that the DEP is listed in number 4.
okay.
But shouldn't the DEP be at the beginning? Because isn't that the beginning of the whole process?
This isn't necessarily the order in which the applicant's required
there isn't
to.
a cadence. So
Okay.
These are all the things. I mean, you could start with the Yarmouth, the number 2, the superintendent, and,
Now, I had a question about that, though, the approval and sign off, Yarmouth Water Intended. Sounds, to me, pretty sort of equivocal. In other words, if there was some prejudice on the part of the Yarmouth Water Superintendent, he could reject this outright before the process even started. I mean, is that necessary? Do we need a Yarmouth Water Superintendent to even sign off on this?
I asked that at the board meeting, and that's what you said, yes, we would want that. And that's why I put
Do they
the,
have a basis for for
I guess I've been
that?
kind of a little bit circular on this, but they have made it very clear in writing, and,
I thought it was rather arbitrary. I remember reading what she said,
Right.
right.
but it
With-
seemed awful arbitrary that she had this preconceived prejudice to begin with, that we
Right.
shouldn't have any of this.
And was not able to substantiate it.
Right.
Right,
I can tell you, my conversation with both the director of DPW and the water superintendent is, they said, almost, I think this is quoting verbatim, out of an abundance of caution, we would not recommend green burials. We don't have them in our cemetery. There isn't a lot of data, information, in our longitudinal study on this. We would not recommend them, and we do not approve them.
She didn't give us any facts on why she said that.
I don't think they can do that.
then I'd take number
get rid
2
of it.
out. I'd just cross it off. Let's just
Yeah,
leave it off.
I would too. I was going to say that.
Otherwise, what are we doing here? Sitting
Right.
here, why, just take it off.
I don't, I mean, do we require them signing off on it? I don't think so.
No,
Well, they're not going.
this is our policy.
Right.
She
Right,
already said
so,
she
so,
didn't
right,
approve
why
of it.
would we even bother with this policy? So that's our policy, and no, we changed our minds. I think.
They, yeah, I absolutely
sorry, that
support that.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, they could go to the select board and say, hey, this policy,
Oh, you
or
mean,
not this
sure,
policy, but
yeah.
the burial approval, but that's.
Which is fine if they chose to do that, I agree. Okay, so we're deleting number 2. Larry, you mentioned about moving up
So on
the
the,
order there, about number 4. Do you
Yes,
feel
no.
strong? You want to do that? I mean, I don't think anyone's.
I feel like that's the beginning of the whole process. So it might not go any further than that if they don't approve of it.
Right, so we're taking it out. We deleted it, Larry. We
No,
deleted
No,
number
we're,
two.
Number four.
number
Oh, I'm
4.
sorry.
Number 4, I think, should be number 1. No, yes,
Well,
number 4.
Like Eric
Well-
said, this isn't in order, but
Yeah.
I agree with you. It bothered me too that we were kind of jumping around temporally.
The only reason I say that is because the one applicant we've had, we got through that whole process before we requested they go back to the DEP to get approval.
Well, the applicant knew he had to, so it was not
But
even
we
us.
didn't- We didn't,
No, I know.
yeah.
No, I agree. I like to see things in some sort of order, and to
Well, it
me,
makes
it
it
was
easier for the
temporary, and
applicant.
this wasn't it. Yeah.
What's the bottom line here? Do you want number 4 going up to number 1 or not? We need to tell Jay.
Well, could we word it differently that
Sure.
we, Jay, I don't know how you think we should word that we need approval from the DEP at the beginning of this process? Can we word that do we agree with that or not? In other words, if the DEP doesn't approve of this, it's not gonna go anywhere else, isn't that's my understanding. Is that correct or not?
We've said that DEP regulations and requirements are separate and in addition to this local regulation, and first must be reviewed and approved by the regional DEP office for each burial request. We've
Right.
already said that, so yes, I think that
Right.
number 4 needs to become the new number 2.
Okay.
I agree with you on that.
New number 2.
Number 2, so right, so you,
4, move 4 up to number 2.
okay. So number 1 stays the same is.
Right, because that's a
sites.
given.
Fine, okay,
We're not going to go any further if it's,
okay.
Now, the only question I also had about zone, number 1, and I could be off base here, that we agree that the plot, the site of the plot is not to be allowed in zone 2, but what about the neighbor's property
we
being in
have to
zone
have the
2?
we have to have the setbacks.
As long as the
same
setbacks are satisfied.
Right,
Fine.
right, yep. That's what
Okay,
we decided,
Yeah,
yep.
I'm cool with that, yep.
And again, number 3 is just kind of, certified soil evaluator must conduct an evaluation, must have a hydrogeological study and a professional survey. The property must be completed. And then if we were going to do that, I would have said the site plan should show burial plot in relation to, or I should say, plot, in relation to property boundaries and setback distances to all wetlands, ponds, rivers, streams, runoff, and public and private wells in the immediate area, because that's what the state says the site plan must include. But again, if you want to do that on the list, on the checkoff list.
Right.
Under site plan, list all of those specifics, because when the DEP looks at it, that's what they're going to be looking for.
So Larry, to your question, when they're submitting this pack into DEP, they will have done the soil evaluation. They will have done the hydrogeological, the survey, and the litany of things that Mary just delineated.
Right.
That then goes to DEP. It isn't like they get the approval from DEP and then go through the things that the board is asking. All that work will be done.
But the DEP is going to request that.
They're going to request in their review,
Right.
and that, up or down on that, then it comes back over
Sure.
to you. So that, I think Hillard had a question, well, they're going to be going through all these different steps and three different professionals, and all that is going to happen for DEP or the board, and actually for both.
Right.
So what are we doing with what is currently number 3? Are we changing anything there or not?
Yeah, that just repeats what we just talked about. So you could leave it, I mean, if you want. could certainly leave it. It's just redundant for
It's
what the
redundant,
DEP
yeah.
is gonna require, but that's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with just leaving it.
Okay.
Just gets kind of messy.
Jay, just add Massachusetts State Certified Soil Evaluator, whatever that would mean. It's someone that's recognized by the state. They have a license to work here. So that's, on number 3 is the second sentence. So it says additionally, comma, a Massachusetts State Certified Soil Evaluator would be the only edit then on number 3.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Number 5, I just have a grammatical, it just reads a little bit better. The last sentence, setbacks, just add an S to setback. Setbacks must also comply with Title V regulations, period.
Okay.
It just reads a little bit more. A little better. It's not as awkward.
I had a question on language, number 12, green burial is not revocable. In the minutes, I think, Larry, you had said about the process, it was like the process is not revocable. I'm not sure revocable is the right language. I always think,
Process.
what?
Can you exhume the body? The question, that was done.
We can't disinter the body.
Exactly. That was, well, I asked that question. Can it be reversed? Can it be changed? So a new owner of the property said, I
Right.
want to exhume the body.
No,
Well, that's what I tried to say here.
Yeah, they have to understand that when they purchase the property.
right. Because we have said, and I had questioned that at first, but then as I read it more carefully, 2 other places we say that the permit cannot be, or the permit can be revoked. In other words, we can say no other burials, that's it. But we can't disinter.
That's covered in number 7 as well, I think.
Well, yeah, it's in 2 other places, I can't remember where, but yes,
So,
it's in Summers.
so maybe it's not worded, that maybe you'd like it in a different way, but a green burial is not revocable. I don't, revocable. The body cannot be exhumed. I don't know how you want to say that. The point is that this is forever changing the complexion of that property.
Right. I think it's self-explanatory,
Okay.
non-revocable.
A body in the green burial is not to be removed, or cannot be removed.
But I think 12 stands alone, I think. Green burial is not revocable. I mean, that's
Yeah,
way more.
New language to me, only I always think of contracts, you're dealing with the lawyer, whether something's revocable, it's not, that kind of thing. I never, if it makes sense to you, that's fine. I just wouldn't have put that word to me. You can't take a body out or whatever, I don't know.
it pertains, yeah.
Because I know the language, you had used process for some reason, I put it down
But
here.
not in that context.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
A green burial is not revocable, that's what I saw in that meeting. But,
Yeah, the context I was using it was when the issue of multiple
Right, right.
bodies came up in the same plot.
okay,
That's not gonna work, that's spelled out in number 7, I think. In other
Okay.
words, once you bury somebody there, that whole area, that 10 by 12 area can't be disturbed.
Right, right.
okay, all right, let's leave it as is then.
I guess the only exception to that would be if, say, you had husband and wife killed in a car accident together or something like that, and,
Will that be a variance?
yeah, that would be a variance, right.
Or if there was some kind of legal
Right.
need for exhuming a body, but,
Yeah.
yeah. That's beyond our ken.
Okay,
Yeah, but that's more like a cemetery.
Type of facility.
okay, number 14. Green burial must be witnessed by a staff member of the health office. Do you want a different term, like the Yarmouth Health Office, or do you want, health department, something a little bit more official than just saying health office? Doesn't sound very
Sounds like
professional to me.
You're not a department anymore.
Yeah,
right?
let's-
You're just
let's-
an office.
Yeah, come on.
I'm serious, because you're under the,
Yeah, it's a division. It's called the Health Division. It's a division
it's called the Health Division? Okay,
of, the department is Inspectional Services, Buildings Division, Health Division.
gotcha. So I'd say the Health Division.
Yep.
Yeah,
And capitalize it, yeah.
capitalized, yes.
Good. Okay, anything in section 6, anyone?
Nope.
Section 7,
I just had one question, because I don't know anything about a permit. So this would have to, obviously, this would all have to be in place before the permit was ever done, right? Because that's more of a current request, right? In other words, that's at the death of the person. So they would have already had to complete all this process before the permit could even be required. right?
No, I don't think
So
so.
what do they do with the body while that permit's being, I mean, this process could take a while.
Yeah, good.
Well,
So what do they do? Have to store the body somewhere?
you have to pay for it, yeah.
Yeah,
Like in a morgue or something?
there's some complexities.
Funeral homes,
well, presumably, they'd be doing all this ahead of time,
Yeah,
knowing that everybody's gonna die.
but unexpected
my
death,
point.
car accident, you
And then when
mentioned.
the person dies, they go and they get the
Right.
permit.
exactly. In other words, that's at the
That's for
point
the
of,
burial, for the, putting the person
right,
in the ground.
but approval requirements have already been done before the permit could,
I would hope so,
yeah.
yeah.
That's fine.
And to your question, Larry, well, actually, one of the funeral directors that the local funeral director that we actually went and visited, they have capacity to store, and they do store them for a significant amount of time, months, not
Do they
days.
freeze them or
Months.
something?
I don't know the temperature, but
Okay.
they do store the body.
See,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I know someone in the business, yes.
Okay.
They do store, and for a number of different reasons.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
yep.
I was unfamiliar with the process, so makes sense.
The only small item here on section 7, number 1, it says site inspections, probably health is the first word, should be capitalized, health staff, should be capital H.
What was that again?
Section 7.
Yeah, I see that.
Under
Help staff.
site inspections, colon, the word health should be capitalized, capital H.
Okay.
Nothing earth shattering. Should we go on to section 8 then? Eric? Yeah? Charlie? Okay, good. Okay, variance requests.
I have a sentence that I think we need to put in because of the state requirements.
Okay,
And I would insert it before the last sentence. And it would say, however, comma, all state citing requirements must still be met, period. Because the state does say that about variances.
However, repeat that?
All state citing requirements must still be met, period.
okay, that's important. Great.
And then the concluding sentence is variance requests must be submitted, right?
Right.
That's before that, okay.
Okay.
So I had two sort of general questions just for us to think about or discuss. Now, does the health department receive a death certificate?
We
You
get
do.
death certificate. No, they're up at the clerk's office. Now, if it's COVID, if there's certain causes of death, they come down to us, and we keep the file on record.
So anyone who may have been someone suffering from a serious pathogenic disease,
We would have to get that.
we would,
That's a great point, because many times, as you know, the toxicology reports take some time and cause of death and things of that nature. There may be a time delay on that.
but
and you may
that's something
require
that we would be made aware of.
You would be, I can't say what the timing to that might be.
But we would be made aware of that through the health department?
Yes, the
Okay.
cause of death are in there, yeah.
I mean, autopsy reports are not public information. It's complicated. I mean, lawyers can get it, a doctor can get it. It's complicated.
It is, in toxicology reports.
Yeah.
A long time.
So on a death certificate, it doesn't even always say if there's an infection, does it?
It might not always say.
No.
Although it
might not,
says
no.
if the death was, the state stuff says, if the death was because of an infectious disease.
Right. You're going to get some information from the death
But
certificate.
I can tell you, in the ER, very often,
Yeah.
person dies because their heart stopped. I mean, it's really,
That's what they
there's
say.
not a whole lot of,
Cardiopulmonary
it's true, they
arrest.
died when their heart,
But
stopped.
there's other stuff going on, yep.
For sure, but it's not always listed.
And the other question that I have is, as far as the execution of the actual burial process, are we leaving this, I mean, it's probably not our place to say who is executing this. I mean, I don't think that's really been discussed. So family members could execute this in theory, or a funeral home? Do funeral homes
They-
conduct
They
green
have
home,
what-
green home
that-
burials?
That was the conversation that we went, that they have done, not actually here on the
Right.
Cape, but they have gone into other states and done, the funeral director that we spoke to, so they have done them.
So
I haven't spoke to a homeowner that is,
presumably, there are funeral homes in the town or on the Cape that would offer this as a service?
would be familiar, that's exactly, they could do this.
Okay, and could a family execute this process?
Always said is it has to be
Sure.
environmentally safe.
Fall under the purview of the
And
health
the health,
department,
health officers
inspection.
or health staff person is going to observe it.
Okay.
I would probably, this is now with hypotheticals and things, but more than likely a funeral home would be part of this process.
would
But
think so.
You'd think so, but could they,
in some
as this is written, they could. Yeah, they could do it on their own.
Sure.
There could be budgetary issues. and,
Sure, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I don't know as it's really been discussed.
But there are some things on our end, just administratively. A fee would be set, an application would be constructed. Like I said, there's a number of different things still to be facilitated here. But this is the body that we'll be building off of what you have here. And then I would just need to get the legal eyes on this to make sure it meets muster legally.
Are we done?
Well, I told Mr. McCurdy that, why don't you come forward, as just courtesy to you, there's some things you'd like to say. Appreciate your waiting. I know it's an important issue for you and your family.
Yeah, as I read through the minutes and tonight's meeting, I know this was some discussion about the water superintendent, and it was mentioned not approved. And allow me to share this with you, and this I think will help. Got a lot of stuff here. And I think I have. Yeah.
Rephrase that, not approved, what did you mean by that?
Yeah, that according to an unnamed consultant to the water superintendent here in Yarmouth, there was mention of not approving.
Well, we excluded that.
So you
Yeah,
excluded
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But one thing I did want to mention, that Jim McLaughlin with Mass DEP contacted in December the water superintendent, and there were no issues. So this was the Yarmouth water superintendent, so
Great.
I just wanted to share that with you, and I can share that also in a follow-up email.
Sure. I talked to Jim McLaughlin today, and we shared exactly that. He said, well, locally, this board has a lot more local authority than DEP has. So I spoke to Jim, he and I spoke for about a half an hour today, maybe more. We went over exactly this to say what was the basis for his approval. He has mentioned that he had spoken to you as well. Because I mentioned that the water superintendent, the DPW director, and the director of the cemeteries was not in favor of this. And he says, well, quite frankly, the local authorities have a lot more jurisdiction than DEP. We're looking at overlays, studies. He said, I'm not even sure Zone 2 is mapped properly because there's a body of water nearby, and that is salt water, and I'm not so sure what that infiltration of water might be. So I didn't have anything to stand on to say no, but he said several times, local authorities, this board has a lot more jurisdiction over the process.
Yeah, I can believe that. I just wanted to, I found the document here, and it mentioned that
The department, this is talking about DEP, Mass DEP, the department consulted with the Yarmouth Water Department superintendent. The Yarmouth Water Superintendent did not have any concerns with the burial provided it was located outside the Zone 2, which it is, according to an email dated December 19th, 2024. So this is from the Town of Yarmouth Water Superintendent to Jim McLaughlin of DEP that the water superintendent in Yarmouth did not have any concerns.
That was December 19th.
That was December 19th, yes.
Very good.
And I can share that with you if you'd like, so I'll pass these out. Let's see. I see how hard everybody's been working on this, and I thank you all for that.
Yeah, you cause a lot of trouble, you know.
You know, I don't think he's causing any of
You're
it.
keeping us employed.
Thank you very much, Charles. And it's also nice to be
I'm hoping to get a double increase in pay for
Yep,
for
right.
this.
I was curious about that. Is this a voluntary thing, or is this some token? So you're just
Voluntary.
here to serve the town.
Yes, that's
It's
true.
not like you're getting rich off of this.
Once the
Oh,
centipede-
oh, where,
It's sort of like being on the school committee.
Yep.
right.
And it's on the second page where it says that, because I was kind of surprised to read that in the minutes. Also, I'm hoping the minutes for the December meeting, December 16th, will be published and on the internet. I wasn't able to see those.
They haven't been approved yet.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I guess they could do that here.
There's a process.
I also read about the,
Excuse me, you need to sit down so you're in front of the mic.
I also read in the minutes about the foreman of a Yarmouth cemetery, talking about how they got rid of the green burials sometime around 1960. And it didn't give a reason why. It didn't give a scientific reason why. And one of the great things about being here with all of you is that everybody has this biology and science background, as I myself do. It kind of surprised me that they got rid of the green burials in the 1960s. And keep in mind, the 1960s was not known for like an environmental time. That's the early 60s was when things started off. But the embalming fluid contains formaldehyde, and some of you have probably seen the MSDS for formaldehyde. So why anybody running a cemetery would think that's any way more environmentally friendly? And I just printed these out for you too.
Yeah, to be clear, Barry spoke to, Ross, I don't think they got rid of that. It dated back to, and again, the 60s. So this gentleman, Mr. Bullock, said this was, green burials haven't been allowed since the 60s because of water quality concerns. And each person that we speak to has said, listen, out of abundance of caution, because we don't have a lot of information, so we haven't allowed them. It isn't like up until this, I think you're portraying is up until the 60s they allowed them and they stopped in the 60s. His information only dates back to then and said, we don't allow them, and it dates back to the 60s. So,
But we couldn't find any official
right, no, if, yeah.
policy.
What else is on your list?
You're absolutely right about formaldehyde.
Yeah, and let me just, Mr. Bullock informed him that as a precautionary measure in the 1960s, the town of Yarmouth decided not to allow green burials in its cemeteries. So however one reads that, keep in mind in the 1960s, we still had lead and gasoline and things like that. And so I guess in the 1960s, they decided not to allow green burials, yet every person buried in there would be pumped full of this carcinogenic formaldehyde chemical. Also, methanol is used, which is seriously nasty, causes cancer and things like that.
Which is not an issue for a dead person, but
That's true, but if it does get out,
Could
and
get out,
and I don't
yeah.
think the vaults are watertight in that respect, so I just wanted to bring those 2 points up there. And I really appreciate you, just all the work you're going through here, the process getting here, and I'm glad I could be here tonight just to see it and just realize how much work you're putting into all of this, and I thank you for that.
Thanks for mentioning that. Great.
how's your dad doing?
Thanks for your patience.
How's your dad doing?
You know, my dad, he's hanging in there, and he's doing okay.
thankfully. He responded pretty well to some hospital treatment. So, I'm glad for that. I've been trying to spend as much time with him as I can. I'm going to join
We're
him.
working on it.
What's that?
Tell him we're working on it, right?
Yes, I believe he's watching here right now,
Okay,
watching this.
okay.
So, I just see that work that you're doing again, and it's deeply appreciated from all of you. Thank you. And I hope I guess the next meeting is going to be in 2 weeks.
No,
No, it's a holiday, so we're gonna have to, maybe February 3rd, maybe?
February 3rd.
MLK Day you had mentioned, yeah, so we'll look at the date. We don't know right now, but before the end of the meeting, we'll know when our meeting is.
Okay.
Yeah, we're kind of like Congress, we're on recess a lot.
that's not true.
Well, that's a good thing, but
Okay. Yeah.
you don't get the pay they do.
No.
No,
You guys can't do insider trading legally?
no.
We'd have to vote on it. Make a motion. Okay, so, you down your list? Yep.
I think that goes over the
Okay.
vast majority of this stuff. I know, Larry, you had a question on like storage, cold storage of bodies. I looked at this in one instance. I believe they refrigerate them rather than freeze them, but that's just one instance on that. It's also good to hear interesting background as a veterinarian, your mention of anthrax. That was kind of interesting.
Well, I just use that as an example of disease that could be
Serious pathogenic
serious.
disease. Yeah.
That would be an issue here, but something like a pathogen that's, relies on a living organism typically won't be. Whereas anthrax could be a saprophytic organism and at the same time highly pathogenic even in a situation with a body.
Yeah, that could stay active for 100
Right.
years.
Right.
Good, thank you.
As there are a few, botulism would be another one, clostridial organisms.
Do we need a motion to accept the revisions and the final change?
Yeah, we do. And we'd be done with number 2 on the agenda. Everyone wants to make a motion about the edits and what we just did?
Well, I'm going to give it a shot. I move we accept the draft regulation of the Yarmouth Green Home Burial Regulations pending the revisions made this evening on January 6th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion about it? No. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
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 Unanimous. Okay, it's done. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very, very much. Okay, let's go on next. All right, how about minutes? We want to do that? We're going to do quickly, anything, people read the minutes? I only had one question. Anyone else have anything? Where was mine? Yeah, page 4, under plastic reduction bylaw update. Question I had, the first sentence was about, let's see, James Gardner informed the board that the members of the Chamber of Commerce who attended the meeting on July 15, 2024, and requested support to approach the select board for a delay in the enforcement, on and on and on. What meeting was the July 15th? Was that, I'm not sure what board that was. It's referencing it.
July 15th meeting was our meeting. They came here and they explained their situation and was asking for the Board of Health support in them going to the select board.
I didn't, that sounds like an early date. Was that in the middle of the summer we did that? I thought that was, I know the Chamber came in October to us. Did they come in July? Because October, maybe 10th?
I didn't get to see the minutes. I asked
meeting.
Mo to see, what meeting were you referring to? Their meeting, they came in July,
Our meeting here
right?
in July 15th, they came and they explained, I think one of the ladies who originally came with
The young woman.
yes, And then there was another young man that was here who was saying, "Oh, I'm willing to
Okay.
Right.
be the head of
Right.
whatever committee."
Right.
So the two persons that were sitting here from the chamber, they were asking for the Board of Health support in going to the select board.
That was
No,
the
I'm
meeting
gonna-
where
yeah.
Davenport came, and his group. No, that was
I'm gonna-
October 7th, I
I'm
think.
gonna check the date on that. It was a little bit later, because I actually didn't get a call till the end of July.
It was
I went-
October 7th was the meeting that
Yeah.
Mary from the chamber and the DP.
Jamie.
Jamie, okay, that was the date of that meeting. So I wasn't sure what July 15th was. So
Yeah.
just to
I'll
make
have to-
that correction.
I'll have to check on that.
Whatever.
Yeah, and then there was a process. I went to,
Stop and Shop representative.
that was the meeting,
same
that,
meeting.
the young girl, Haley.
Haley.
Haley was here. When I found out at the end of July, I went to the town administrator. They kind of laid out a scenario. So, yeah, you're right, Hilda, that with the holiday, I haven't seen the minutes before.
So, no big deal. So, anything else on the minutes? Maybe someone make a motion, we'll just include one edit that needs to be done. Eric, want to do two in a row?
Sure.
Hey, come on.
I move we accept the Board of Health minutes from December 16th, 2024, pending the date change from July 15th to October 20.
Probably the 7th, but
Excuse me.
to whatever
October-
the correct date
October
would be.
7th, 2024.
Second.
Great. Let's skip any discussion questions. Just raise your hand, say aye if you accept the minutes. As fine, done. Great. Motion's done. Let's, up to new and old business. Oh, we haven't,
So Jay is
Sorry.
correct. It is October 7th when they came.
okay, great. All right. Perfect. New or old business, anyone?
Small thing, at the Dennis Senior Center, I gave you a flyer.
Yes.
They're starting to do their Buried and Treasured workshop again. It's put on by the Cape Cod Hoarding Resource Network. If you, anybody out in the public, if you yourself, any family members or a neighbor you know would like to join this, it's free. You can call the Dennis Senior Center. Their phone number is 774-330-3001. And it starts Thursday the 9th from 10:30 to 12:30. And they also have an online version for the folks who can't make it. It's like a 13-week program, 13 to 16-week program. It helps people understand their issues with clutter and hoarding and stuff like that. So it's a great program. I've actually already reached out to two of our local residents today and passed this information on to them. So
Great.
Why don't you just state the registration information, phone number again slowly?
more time, not a problem.
I'm going to tell my wife about this.
Cape Cod Hoarding Resource Network is having, once again, a Buried and Treasure workshop at the Dennis Senior Center. For information, 774-330-3001.
Great. Additional new or old business?
I would simply say this, just to the board, a reminder, and anyone listening at home. This time of year, just after the holidays, people together, we're seeing an increase, whether it's in COVID, seasonal influenza, RSV, pertussis, a number of things, and direct them to, and you said the board probably checks it on a regular basis, or if not, I highly recommend you do. Leah Hammer, if you remember, the epidemiologist from Barnstable County, they have a tremendous amount of either local, state, and national information on a whole number of epidemiological concerns, and we're seeing a rise. We're seeing a rising in this building of whether it's norovirus, upper respiratory issues, to be cautious, washing our hands, cough hygiene, all of those things as we're just heading into that season. It's not unusual, but it's hitting, we're probably, I don't even know if we're at peak, quite frankly, but a seasonal influenza shot is important, not too late. just to be mindful of that and to be careful of that. We're seeing this in this building, and I'm sure you see it, and maybe you saw it at the holidays. So just to remind the board that Barnstable County website has a tremendous amount of information, and it's just helpful and some tips. And I think you saw that at one of the meetings recently. I refer to that on a fairly regular basis.
Next meeting, date,
February 3rd.
3rd, everyone? At least 3 of us, at least, will have a meeting. Great. Eric, it's 2025, you want to do
The
3
year
motions?
of motions.
Hold on, everyone. You lead the league.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Okay. Aye.
warm.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Question, Tilden, will this be on the agenda on